Okay, we're live.
All right, we get a little more lively. That's a little chill for the morning to me, but
Very
we
chill.
gotta like
Thank
gotta
you,
wake us
Malcolm.
up. We gotta like wake us up. DC, awesome. Dr. Nelson, Alia, great day. I got Ray and Matthew on Kilt's Mighty Tribe, and what are we talking about today, DC?
Well, whatever you want to talk about, it's your show. I love that chill intro.
I
Yes.
loved it,
Chill.
but
Well,
it's still.
it's new. First time we played just for you. See,
That's
Oh,
right.
very
So
good.
we love Malcolm's doing. Oh, we got to let's get a different one for the week next, and then we got to choose. Woo.
We'll do that. We'll do that.
all
right.
right.
All right.
So good morning, everyone. It's the 25th of June, 2025, and we are here today with DC, Dave. What is the C for?
Charles.
Charles. Okay.
So DC is much easier.
And we're going to be talking about his life story, basically. So if you have any questions, put them in the chat. If you put QQQ in front of it, it's easier for us to identify it. And hashtag, what's the hashtag, Alia?
Hashtag DC. Someone donated a ticket to the Boston meetup, so someone is winning a ticket to the Boston meetup this morning. Congratulations to future congratulations. Hashtag
All right.
DC.
So two things about that. That's this weekend.
That's
Whoever
right.
the winner is, if they're able to make it, great. If you're not going to be able to make it, then you have to let us know very quickly so we can try to find someone else to give it to.
We will.
And I want to say we only have 15 tickets left. So
Oh my God,
14.
you got to get them because get sold out. You're out. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Watching
Exactly.
the sidelines. Right on.
Yeah.
DC, I don't think you're coming to this one.
No, I won't be able to make it, unfortunately. I mean, a completely different hemisphere.
And
Dr.
you
Kills,
will-
maybe we could do a meetup with DC next year when you're already out there. Maybe.
Where are you in Australia?
I'm in northeast Queensland, Australia, on the Sunshine Coast near.
I haven't been there yet. Yeah, I think we're going to. Where are we in Melbourne or Sydney for the meetup in February?
One or the other.
All right,
I don't
find
remember.
that
One
out.
or the
I
other.
think that'd be a great idea. We do a couple. Maybe we hit a few places. We could get Melissa. We could all work on that together. And I think she's going to be highlighting the animal movie too.
I believe so, yes.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool.
Ooh.
My friend, actually, health coach Joff and I, we're actually organising an event in September here in Queensland near Brisbane, and hopefully next year we'll be able to make a big event as well. So,
That'd be awesome.
yeah.
all righty. So, DC, why don't you start?
Okay.
And, we'll see if we have any questions to field. Just put in the comments.
My story is it's pretty long, but I'll try and keep it as short as possible. My story, my healing story started when I was back in 2011. I was living in Japan. I'd been living there for about 10 years. And I was living in near a city, between the city and the coast of Miyagi. It's like a prefectural state, where it's actually where the 9.1 earthquake hit in 2011, March 11th. And then we were hit by the tsunami as well. And so we spent that year pretty much just trying to, we survived that and sort of collect the pieces and rebuild everything. And I was struggling a lot through that year because I was very sick off and on. I couldn't really control, I was catching colds, very easily. My immune system was just very, very low, and I couldn't see why. But every now and then, it was a very difficult sort of situation too. Though we were basically on bicycles for months trying to find food and water for ourselves and my wife and her family. And we had no electricity for a while or any sort of running water or anything like that. So it was a difficult situation. The food was pretty much just what we could find, so it wasn't very healthy. So I really just put it down to a lot of that, and I was getting every now and then I was getting these abdomen pains and things like that, but it didn't last that long. So I sort of brushed it aside and just dealt with the job at hand, sort of thing. And this went on for 9 months, and through that time we did the cleanup, after the tsunami and everything like that, and we managed to do some cleanup work for some of the shelters that were and take out some blankets and clothes and things like that for some of the kids and so on. And then in December of 2011, I decided to come back to Australia to visit my family. Basically, it was really just to let them see that I was fine and everything was okay and so on. But while I was here, as soon as I got off the plane, I was sick. I was sick as a dog. I had a flu. So I figured, well, while I'm here, I'll get a checkup and we'll see what happens, Just, I was pretty sure it's just a flu, so give me some medications and on my way sort of thing, which is what they did. But they did a blood test and they called me back the next day and said they wanted to do some x-rays and scans. So they sent me to a town not far from where he works. I was staying out at my father's place, which is in the countryside in Australia, Queensland. And so I went up there and did my scans, and this all took, this is over Christmas, so it was kind of, a bit of breaks here and there, and it took a couple of weeks for all this to happen. So, over Christmas, you have your parties and so on. And, I was playing sports with the family, playing volleyball in the garden and things like that. And then on the 28th, I think it was December, the doctor calls me back and said he wanted to give me an exam and check out the x-rays and so on. And I had an ultrasound done. And he asked me when I'm going back to Japan. I said, I'm going back on the 4th of January. And he said, I think you should stay here until you get this sorted out. And I'm like, I was a bit confused, and I was like, why would I want to do that? And he said, well, I can't tell you what it is, but, this is what, I think you should do. So I came home to my dad's place. I called my wife. She was still in Japan because at the time I couldn't afford for her to come with me. And she decided to come out and see what was going on. She arrived on the 3rd of January, and about 3 hours after she arrived here in Australia, I got a phone call from a hospital in Brisbane, and they asked me to come in and see them that night, which is like a 4-hour drive. And I'm like, that's not going to happen. My wife just arrived. She, spent 24 hours traveling, so it wasn't going to happen, sort of thing. But it was a weird sort of. I felt fine. I mean, I was sick, but I wasn't really that sick. I felt pretty good. I had lots of energy and so on. But we went in the next day, and they told me they couldn't tell me straight away, but they said, look, you've got some type of a lymphoma, and you've got a large mass in there. So, and that sort of started a week of like a barrage of tests. And eventually it came back that I had a very advanced stage 4 follicular lymphoma. I had stage 3 kidney disease, a fatty liver, and a large tumor wrapped around my aorta about the size of a football. And it had been, because the tumor was so big, it had been sitting on both of my kidneys, which is why my kidneys were in a stage 3 disease state. My left kidney wasn't working at all. My right kidney was down to just 12% flow capacity. So at the moment, it's a race between the cancer and the kidneys as to who's going to kill me first. But either way, it was gonna happen very quickly and very soon. And it was a bit of a shock. I mean, I felt fine. I mean, like before I left Japan, I was still training. I was still hitting the gym pretty hard. I had plenty of energy. But when they told me that it's incurable, it's inoperable, and even if you do get through treatment, it's going to come back. It's a recurring type of cancer that you can never get rid of. And the more you treat it, the shorter remission periods will be, and the more aggressive it becomes, and it just keeps coming back and coming back and coming back. So basically, I'm already very high stage 4, so it's going to need a very aggressive sort of treatment to start with. So basically, they're telling me, even if you survive, for the rest of your life, you're tied to the hospital and you are tied to further treatments for the rest of your life. Even though it was a pretty short life, I guess. So it was a bit of a shock. And I mean, on top of that, it meant that we had just lost. If I stayed here to get treatment to try and fight this, it means that my wife and I had just lost everything that we had built in Japan. I built a whole life there. I had my business in Japan. I had my home. Everything that you build up in life, all your possessions, all of that was gone. The only thing I had left was one backpack full of clothes that I came over with for a vacation. And that was a real struggle, to give it all up for treatment. And that was, the best part about that was my wife. She was incredible. She, I didn't want her to give up her life to sort of, to come here and look after me, especially when I had nowhere to live in Australia. I couldn't even offer her a home to live or a way of getting a home to live, anything. I couldn't offer her any kind of life. So I told her, look, if you feel like you should want to leave or you want to go home and just get on with your life, maybe if I can beat this in a year or so, I can come back and rejoin you, sort of thing. I just gave her a way out because I didn't want to drag her into it, But she was incredible, and she just said, "Look, don't be silly, we're a team, no matter what and no matter where." So that was really cool. But from that moment on, it was just a barrage of treatments, and I started with what they call R-CHOP. It's a really heavy dose, sort of on a 21-day cycle, very heavy dose chemotherapy treatment. I had to do all sorts of operations on my kidneys and try and get them to operate so that I can actually have the treatment and so on. And then I went through R-CHOP. It was supposed to be 6 to 8 rounds if it was depending on how well it worked. So it ended up going out to 8 treatments because it wasn't working so well. But eventually, at the end of that, it was 18 rounds. I did targeted radiation on the actual tumor, because I actually got pretty clear. Like my bloods and everything were clear at the end of the treatment, at the end of the R-CHOP, but the tumor itself hadn't actually shrunk. So I still had this really large tumor, even though my bloods were clear. So they then targeted radiation on the tumor. From there, they classed me as a stable stage 2, but still with a large mass. It had shrunk about, by the time they finished that, it had shrunk about 20%, thereabouts. So it was still pretty sizable. My kidneys were operating. Well, one my right kidney was operating. The left kidney is more of a cheerleader for the other one, really. But that left me at stage 2 with a large mass still. So then they told me they wanted to put me on a 2-year program of rituximab. Rituximab is the R part of the R-CHOP treatment. And the idea of the rituximab is to extend my remission period and hopefully give me a longer remission later on. And I mean, that wasn't too bad. It made me sick for about 3 or 4 days every time they gave me the rituximab, but it was only every 2 months, so I could handle that. The problem I was having after that was that after the R-CHOP, I had bad reflux, I had stomach ulcers, I had severe IBS, I had chemo fog. My brain was, pretty bad. I couldn't really think straight. All kinds of problems, really. Problems that I didn't really realize at the time, that I'll talk about soon. But about 14 months into this rituximab, I got to January of 2014, and I was back. I was being tested every month after the original test, after the original treatment. So every month I was, test and test and test the whole period. But in 2014, even while going through this rituximab treatment, I was back to very high stage 4 again, and the tumor was growing again, and it was spreading more aggressively. So in the last, between the last test, which is only about 6 to 8 weeks ago, before January, back in, I think it was late November, and then the next test in December showed it was back to stage 4 again.
Wow.
So almost 2 years to the day, it was back. So then they put me into a clinical trial for bendamustine. And I mean, that was a real shock to me, because I was planning through that whole first 2 years of treatment. I mean, they kept extending my treatment, so there's always more to do, which was getting annoying. But at the time, every time I finished something, I was thinking, okay, when I'm finished here, I'm going back to Japan. When I'm finished this, I'm going back to Japan. It never really registered that it's going to come back. But then January 2014, and I'm stage 4 again. So,
DC, when did carnivore even come to your radar?
Oh, not for almost. Carnivore as a diet plan didn't really come on my radar until maybe 3 years ago.
And what was your diet prior to that?
It was very heavy meat based.
And what do you espouse the cause of your disease to?
Definitely a fitness industry diet of 5 to 6 meals a day, heavy carbs, and heavy processed as well. It wasn't like my meals were always very good. They were always, diet industry good. Okay.
Healthy, clean, organic,
low fat, lean, green, and marine sort of thing. Like, it was very, I ate chicken breast, skinless chicken breast for a decade straight, right?
You-
egg white omelets. I was fat phobic. I had very, very low fat diet for most of my life. Even growing up as a child, my mother thought it was healthy to be vegetarian. So it was very much, off and on sort of vegetarian. And even when we did eat meat, it was very rarely like healthy steak or anything like that. And so it was never very good, like nutrition my whole life actually. But even in my adult life, I studied sports science in college, and it was all very much, just low fat diets. And I was the supplement king. I had supplements for everything, pre-workout, post-workout, vitamins, minerals, multivitamins, all this other junk that it was just, now it just boggles the mind, how much money I wasted and how many years are wasted on just poor nutrition. It's frustrating, but I suppose there's not much you can do. 2020 is hindsight too, isn't it?
And so how many years of traditional treatment have you done?
I did.
Repeat your cancer type again. Repeat your cancer type again.
Follicular lymphoma. Yeah, it's a recurring type of lymphoma that you can't get rid of. So it's actually, I did 3 years, and in total, I did 3 years of solid chemotherapy without a break. It was in January 2014 when they diagnosed me again. They put me into the clinical trial. This stuff was it's supposed to be more mild. Like nowadays here in Australia, they're using things like immunotherapy for lymphoma, which is really good. It's very mild.
So we're claiming, is it possible, again, because of our environment, the chronic inflammation is leading these things to be what we think are incurable, but in fact, they maybe are, but in our standard world, the causes of inflammation are still there and they're not taken away.
I would say so too. Yeah. I mean, they never once, like in the 3 years that I did chemotherapies, and I mean, after I did like aftercare, well, I'm still seeing my oncologist even today, but they've never once considered nutrition. Never once. They've never once considered anything to actually support my immune system, only to give me more medications to kill the cancer cells. But the problem is, chemotherapy doesn't just kill cancer cells; it kills everything. Right?
It's not a bullet to one thing. It attacks many things at the same time. And so when did you discover carnivore, and how has it affected your disease progression?
Okay, well, after the third year, like the trial, and then well, this is kind of a long story, but I'll try and shorten it. It's through the trial that the trial didn't work at all. In fact, it just made things worse. My cancer grew, the tumor grew and spread. It filled my arms with extremely long blood clots from my shoulders down to my wrist. I was AFib. I had all kinds of problems going on through the trial. They ended up doing 8 rounds because they figured they couldn't stop. They had to destroy as much as they could leading into my stem cell transplant. After the transplant, well, through the transplant, I had so many troubles as well. I had my heart stopped. I stopped breathing a number of times. It got to the point where the nurses would come in every 10 to 20 minutes just to check that I was still breathing. I my heart rate was all over the place. So I woke up, like I'd pass out and I'd wake up. I had an oxygen mask on. I had, the ECG electrodes all over my chest, and I had all kinds of things going on. I actually had an infection in the Hickman line that was sticking out of my heart. So they had to pull that. Eventually, when I did get out, I was so cooked. I was so cooked from the inside out. Like I had layers of skin coming out everywhere, like really thick layers. My gums were peeling, my lip, my tongue, everything was just peeling. I had pieces of skin and flesh falling off my hand, my arms, and my body. I was completely red. That's how much chemotherapy is coming out of me. I was paralyzed and I couldn't think. All my organs were cooked. My brain was cooked. I couldn't speak. I thought I could. I thought I was doing fine, but my wife it was just gibberish. So I was a real mess. And that was, when I did finally get out and I went home, I couldn't do anything myself. I couldn't hold a cup to drink water or anything like that. My wife had to spoon feed me like a baby, And then the thing is, when I got out, I couldn't eat any fruit or vegetables or anything like that. It would burn my mouth. Like it was like eating acid, It was I felt like it would just burn so much. I couldn't go near it. The only thing I could eat was meat. And at the time, it was like I was so miserable. It was like I couldn't move. Yeah, I've always been very athletic. I used to do all kinds of things, triathlons, Ironmans, weightlifting, all sorts of stuff. And here I am now and stuck in bed and I can't even hold a cup, And I didn't know from test to test whether it's going to come back or not. Is this as good as it's going to get, sort of thing? So I just didn't care what I ate. But the only thing I felt like eating was meat. And like any time I got near like fruit or vegetables or anything like that, like I said, it would just burn my mouth and I couldn't eat it anyway. So from there, I just went against everything I had learned, and I just started eating that. And it took a long time. It took like a couple of years before I could walk again. And it was a very slow progression before I could really think about how I had progressed and how things were going. And about 5 years after that, I got back into the gym. And, it was a very slow process through those years. Like learning to walk again was very much a stumbling process, like a baby again. And going for walks in the park and things like that with my wife. But once I got back in the gym, it was kind of like cleaning up my diet. It's very heavy meat based, but I did still have like rice and veggies eventually. It took me about a year before I could eat vegetables and fruit, because I was just too sensitive to it. But I didn't stop. From there, I pretty much just ate. It was all home cooked meals and sort of thing, but because I've always been like that anyway. But I was always like restricting the carbs later on to sort of lose some weight, because for years, spend years in bed and doing nothing, just staring at the ceiling. I got quite fat. Very fat for myself. But when I started restricting the carbs again, and I started going back to the gym, everything sort of started to click again. I started looking at, trying to build my immune system, because I was still having trouble, like even with the aftercare, when they started giving me these vaccines and stuff again, my immune system shut down. So from there, I was always trying to work out the best way to get my immune system built back up and stop getting colds and flus and stuff, because I'd had a couple of bouts of pneumonia that put me back in hospital through this time. And every time I got a cold or a flu, it just got, it got quite severe. And there was a couple of times where, and every time I spent more than a few hours awake, I'd get tired, and I had these recurring fevers, So I was trying everything to try and build my immune system up.
Do you have, what's your current status? Is there any degree of disease that they can still see?
Well, as of this year, I am what they call no evidence of disease.
Okay. And so was that earlier this year, or it's been about a year?
Yeah, no, it's been since January.
January. So
yeah.
And this whole ordeal has lasted 15 years, is it?
13. Yeah, 2012 it started.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
well, that's when I was diagnosed anyway.
No evidence of disease at the moment, which is great. And you mentioned you were eating at some point back some vegetables and fruits. Are you fully, 100% carnivore, or are you having some?
No, about 3 years ago now, I found Sean Baker, and actually I found a few people that were a few people online. They started this crazy fad diet where they only eat meat, and I'm like, these people are morons. I'm a trained strength and conditioning coach, right? So there are good carbs and there are bad carbs. It's all about calories, and that's all. All that sort of ridiculous nonsense. And that's still kind of hardwired at the time. And I'm thinking, oh man, these people are eating nothing but meat. They're morons. Dead set.
We are.
Yeah, and it took me a little while, but then I found Sean Baker, and I thought, okay, well, he's a smart guy. It's obviously there's something behind this, and I found Professor Seafried, and when I realized that he's talking about high fat carnivore diet, then I thought, okay, yeah, that makes sense. Finally, finally, it makes sense to me, because I found that through the years, like before that, I had been going, I did try going low fat again, but I found it just made me feel miserable. So I increased my fat intake, and I just naturally felt better on a higher fat intake. And I got rid of all the processed. I started using just real butter, real dairy, real tallow, and real meat, just like fatty meat. And I felt great on it. And because especially after the transplant, it felt like when a dry sponge soaks up water, that's what my body felt like. It felt like it was just reabsorbing all these nutrients, and for the longest time afterwards, I had severe IBS. I couldn't walk. I had my wife, she's 5'0", tiny as, and she had to carry me to the bathroom, because I couldn't move. But I had to go anywhere up to 10 times in a day. It was crazy. And literally, the place because we had lost so much, we had lost everything. The only thing we could afford to rent at the time was this tiny little studio. As my bed was literally 2 steps from the bath to the bathroom and to the kitchen. So literally, I could just stand up and fall over and get there. and I couldn't even do that.
So
You had a question, Dr. Kills.
I'm getting some questions from our Kills Mighty tribe, and so you had a bone marrow transplant, is that right?
I had a stem cell transplant.
I'm sorry, stem cell
Mm.
transplant.
I had an
Do they wipe out
autologous.
your bone marrow? Do they wipe out your bone marrow?
Yeah.
So they
It's
wipe
a similar procedure. It's a similar procedure.
because I mean, ultimately you're right, but a bone marrow is wiped out, and then the transplant comes back. Any other organs removed?
No organs removed.
Right.
Yeah.
So
I was completely inoperable.
Yeah, because the lymph system is kind of everywhere. Anyway, but they've labeled it what do they say? That it's an incurable disease.
Yeah.
Okay, so is that true?
I don't think so.
No, it's not true, right?
No.
It's true according to the modern system that says you need to take a GLP-1 for life, which is untrue, right? Or you have a disease and it's who you are, but it is untrue. And so ultimately, it's as simple. A low-fat diet is deadly for humans.
I think so, yeah.
And fat animals.
I think it's a combination. Like if you have a low-fat diet and a high intake diet, or a lot of meals eating throughout the day, especially like a high carb diet, the combination is a killer.
Well, if you eat a low-fat diet, by definition, you're eating a high plant protein low-fat diet, right? Because if you're no fat, you're eating either breasted chicken with no skin and no bone, right? But ultimately, plants are poisonous, and maybe it's not a lack of nutrition. It's simply we're poisoned by plants. That's it.
Yeah, I think so. Well, yeah, I think you're right there. I mean, you're poisoned by plants, but I think it's also a lack of nutrition as well, because your body just can't recover.
I am questioning that comment that we all make. What nutrients are we missing?
Yeah.
In general, we're not. It's because plants contain chemicals to control and kill us. Simple, period, done.
Yeah.
It's really it.
Yeah.
And I always ask, well, how many people, Dr. Nelson, are protein deficient that you've seen in your clinic? You say, oh, you're lacking protein in your body.
None.
Zero.
Zero. With the exception of people who are terminal with cancer and things like that, where they're
but they're poisoned. They're poisoned by something that causes cachexia, sarcopenia, and all these things. And so I think, DC, what you're saying is essentially, on a standard global diet, which is plant protein, plants, low-fat diet, plants and animal products, but lean.
And I have a question, DC. What does your current doctor or doctors say about your current state of recovery? You're officially in remission.
Can't believe it. Yeah, they can't believe it.
Okay, and they might even say, well, it's part of the because that disease is a slow growing, generally not curable type of disease that it can wax and wane. So I'm thinking some doctors, well, it just happens, right?
Yeah.
But we know it didn't just happen with you.
No, well, I mean, you got to do the work, but I think you can do it. I think it's, I mean, for me, like it started with just increasing my fat intake, and I also did about a year after this happened, the transplant. I started breath work because I couldn't breathe. I was so seized up. My body was literally seized. It was like a rusted engine. And when I started breath work, a lot of it changed for me as well. I think there's so many. I think the combination of these two really can change the way people view. I think we are the only people. We're the only animal on the planet that doesn't know how to eat and doesn't know how to breathe. It's crazy.
We're told these things, and then we believe these things.
Yeah.
Ultimately, it's just all it is we believe what they tell us, and we listen to propaganda every single day. Here's a question from Jackie Brown, and you have some questions also.
We do, yeah.
If you had to do it from moment of diagnosis, what would you have done differently?
Oh, everything.
Give me one thing.
I probably would have still. I mean, I think when you are in that state, when I was first diagnosed, I was already very high stage 4 with the large tumor and everything else. So I think I still would have gone ahead with the Archer. I would have gone ahead with the treatment. But the difference I would make then, is how I would recover. Because when they tell you that there's nothing you can do about it, it's nothing you did wrong, it's all genetics. It doesn't matter what you do, doesn't matter what you eat. I mean, I was even told that eating junk food would help because it won't feed, because there's no nutrients to feed the cancer cells. But that's how ridiculous that nonsense is.
What about going carnivore? Would you start that right away?
Absolutely. That would be the first thing I would do. I would go straight carnivore. I would start fasting. I'd start breath work. Those are the 3 things I would do.
Did you have any bowel problems ever?
I did. Yeah, my whole life, actually.
What were they?
It was either IBS or constipation. It was always my whole life, I said, my mother tried to make us vegetarian when we were kids and things like that as well.
What if all of our simple, I'm going to use the word stupid problems, and Dr. Vasquez could chime in on this one. What if it's all simply a gut problem? The food we eat fuels the microbes in the gut, and it damages the gut. Now, the simple filter that's supposed to prevent some things from getting in and some things from getting out is broken down.
Exactly.
And that's it from the day we're born, pretty much.
Well, I think actually some people do refer to the stomach as the first brain now, because it actually feeds our brain as well. Yeah, that's the first stop, isn't it?
I mean, they kind of say the bacteria is talking to our brain, which is kind of true, because they make heroin, cocaine, marijuana, they make alcohol in our gut. And when your brain, I mean, I don't know, Dr. Nelson, do you talk to bacteria all day long?
According to science, they talk to me. But this is what my take on it. I believe very closely to what you're talking about when you talk about the microbiome, right? What we feed them, when we're feeding ourselves, changes the microbiome. That's established, right? At least that's what it looks like. And we're trying to chase the end, just having the right mix of bacteria. What you need to chase is eating the proper nutrition, right? And that will have the effect on the microbiome and hopefully fix everything. We have a lot of questions accumulating. If we can get to some of those questions.
You mean there are other people here besides us?
Yeah. And it's going to be -1 in about 5 minutes because I'm leaving early. I'm going to the airport. But
where are you going?
Are you going to Boston today?
I'm not going to Boston today, but my wife is going to Boston today.
Nice.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Right.
All right. So let's see. We got a lot of questions here. Pamela Hulfer, Dr. Sarah Bolivar said, Pamela, Sarah Saldivar said on her channel that PubMed published papers that say stevia causes low dopamine. Your thoughts?
By the way, before you answer that question, Dr. Sarah Saldivar will be with us sometime in August.
Oh, awesome!
She just confirmed
cool.
this week
Yay!
on the 3 p.m.
Awesome. So what about stevia causing low dopamine?
It's a plant drug.
Thank you.
Why is it good for us? It's not.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, you can have it small amounts time to time, but again, it's a plant drug that is industrially produced. Don't recommend it of any significance or frequency. Small amounts from time to time, go at it. I have no idea what my dopamine levels are.
We don't check.
Your dopamine levels, Dr. Nelson?
No, but I mean, we obviously it's one of the neurotransmitters we have in our body.
I mean, but ultimately we talk about all these things. Like ultimately, we say a lot of what we think we know, but we probably don't know much of what we know.
The thing is too, like what we eat and when we eat also affects our autonomic nervous system. So things like coffee, for example, caffeine, like it's not that it just produces acrylamide. When you drink coffee, if you have that dopamine reaction, it puts you in the sympathetic nervous state so that you get that cortisol reaction. So that's where you get that energy burst from, when you get that. But you don't want to be producing cortisol all day. So drinking coffee all day is, really bad thing. So, the way you eat. Sorry?
But watching Kilt's Mighty Tribes all day is good for your dopamine.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, it is great. It is great.
Well, having a laugh puts you in the parasympathetic state. So you're more relaxed and it puts you in that recovery state. So having a good laugh is good.
Yeah, we got to have laughter. I want to give a shout out to this book,
Taming the Beast Within.
Who's the author?
Okay.
Oh, Taming the Beast Within. Okay. M.H. Weiss or Weiss. Weiss. Taming the Beast Within. Who is it? What is it?
Mitch Weiss.
Oh,
a carnivore guy. The man. I want everyone here to go to Amazon and buy this book, and we're gonna all go through it, and we're gonna critique it. And so I want everyone, CB and Papa and Larry and Eric, get the book. Let's dig through it and get some pearls of our old guy carnivore, Mitch Weiss. And we're going to be with Mitch. We got to get a meetup there. So when's the meetup in Melbourne?
July 2nd.
In exactly 1 week.
1 week.
Next Wednesday.
We selling tickets?
No, it's just pay for your meal. It's going to be in a Brazilian steakhouse in Melbourne.
But can people log on and buy them and show up?
No, is what he said.
We're just showing up there.
Come on.
We're gonna show up there. The restaurant opens at 11:30. We're gonna be there at 11:30. We're gonna be the first group to walk in. It's usually empty in the middle of the week.
Well, do we want to invite others to show up and support Mitch?
Yeah, we're doing that.
Sure.
Alia, put a link there so people know where it is, what we're doing. It's another meetup, right? And maybe bring your copy of your book so Mitch could sign it.
You guys can do a book club.
Buy a book on Amazon, bring it with you. Mitch will sign it. He's a rock star.
We have a question here, which I want to take.
Let me read it.
Go ahead, read it.
J Bud, Dr. Kiltz and Dr. Nelson, how many hours of nutrition classes did you have to pass while earning your MDs, your medical degrees?
Would it have mattered if we had taken any? First of all, let me tell you, I'm a family physician. I did actually get a lot of nutrition training for babies because part of my training is pediatrics. Okay, along with internal medicine, OBGYN, I've participated, not as many as Dr. Kills, but I've participated in delivering 50 babies in this world.
Woo!
But no, we didn't get, some of us didn't. What's your bachelor's degree in some nutrition?
I'm on my undergrad at University of Southern California in Los Angeles was a nutritional biochemistry degree.
So you definitely had a lot of hours of training. However, who are the specialists in nutrition? And we call them nutritionists or dietitians. They get a bachelor's degree, and what they're recommending is a plant-based, low-fat diet. So would it have mattered? Is my question, because what's the answer to this, Dr.
Same. I did years of it as well. It was in sports science. We did the same, but it's all the
it's a lie.
It's a lie. Yeah,
it's a lie.
So
right.
With that, I'm going to say,
Dr. Nelson, get out of here. You're out of here. But don't forget to get your and let's get more people.
I'm gonna be there next Wednesday. You told me you were gonna try to be there, right?
No, I'm gonna be there. there. I already got it. We're gonna be there. We want people to show up, support Mitch, and let's pack the place. They'll be like, "What?"
Mm-hmm.
Good to see you again, DC.
Good to see you. Take care.
We'll keep working on this thing.
All right.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Nelly. All right. What are the questions? Let's keep going down those questions.
All right. Next question is, did Sharon asks 2 questions actually. Did you eat plant protein? And by chance, were you eating candy daily? I think the answer is no. No. This was before you got cancer.
Okay. So you either eat plants or animals. All plant cells, all animal cells contain amino acids, simple sugars, and fatty acids. Done. This idea that you eat protein, you do not eat protein. You either eat animals or plants, and they have all that stuff in it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's the thing. The biggest problem I think you see, like in this space, is that people talk about protein without enough sort of nuance. Like that. It's about the amino acids that we absorb. We don't, they're talking about crude protein. So you just can't get the full spectrum of amino acids from plants. Things like collagen and so on. Yeah.
Right. But even if you think about even in the world of carnivore or keto, we have all this scientific gobbledygook that doesn't matter. No other animal. No other organism is asking about your collagen, your nutrients, your protein, your macros, none of it.
Yeah.
Eat fatty meat, go to work every day, and have faith in God. Simple as that.
Yeah, that's it. Exactly. Yeah, we overcomplicate everything, overthink everything.
Yeah.
And that's our biggest problem,
Right on.
We're arrogant enough to think we can make our own food and stupid enough to eat it.
And again, it's nature made the animals or us who came out of trees to hunt, not to graze.
Yeah, exactly.
It really is simple.
It really is that simple. People don't get it. We just don't get it. It really is that simple. We don't need to know why these amino acids work, why these fatty acids work, and why that. We don't need to know that stuff. All we need to know is this is what we are supposed to eat. This is the way we should eat, and this is the way we should keep going. So, and it works. Yeah.
Carnivore.
Yeah.
Rock on.
Yeah, exactly. It's like,
go ahead.
That's what I love about what I'm doing now to be a breathwork coach as well, is because I think it's the perfect combination, because a lot of what we do, like the benefits of the carnivore diet, for example, like lowering inflammation and lowering stress and things like that, helps us control our autonomic nervous system. But so does the way we breathe. And a lot of problems that people have when they do convert to the carnivore diet, such as muscle cramps and things like that, people don't know also just how good or what CO2 actually does in the body, and what proper breathing does, and what proper posture does. You know, like a lot of people you see when they're converted onto the carnivore diet, and it's sitting on the screen, they say, I keep getting these cramps, and you can see like they're not breathing properly. You know, they're not breathing through the diaphragm. They're breathing too much. They're breathing through their mouth, and they're blowing off too much CO2. And you've got low CO2 in your body. CO2 is actually like it's a signaling molecule that actually delivers oxygen to your cells, for one. It's also a vasodilator, and if you have too low CO2 in your bloodstream, you're going to get muscle cramps. All right?
Breath work.
It's not just
critical.
about food.
Breath work. Critical.
Yeah, it's not just about food.
It's the mind. See, faith first, mindset, master set.
Yeah.
I don't care what you do or don't do. The mind is the master.
Exactly.
And that's why what you read.
Are you in the fight or flight, or are you in the sympathetic, the parasympathetic sort of state, where you want to be? I mean, you want to produce cortisol first in the morning. You want to be in that sort of sympathetic state when you wake up and start the day, but you don't want to stay like that the whole day. But at the moment we're drinking coffee all day. We're watching screens. We're watching social media. We're watching all the news. Watching all this stuff. Everyone's they're not breathing properly. They're not eating properly. They're in this state of constant stress, and they're getting heart disease. They're getting all kinds of problems because they can't control their autonomic nervous system. You know.
Yeah. All right. 3 months carnivore, still feeling fatigue daily. Yep. DC, yeah. Any just 1 minute or less answer.
Okay. Well, first thing I would like to do is I would look at your posture. I'd look at your breathing, and then I'd look at what exactly you're eating on your carnivore diet.
Take a nap.
Yeah. Well, take a nap.
Take a nap. Take a nap. Take a nap.
Increase your salt intake. Increase your fat intake. Give it a try.
Take a nap. Right. Get more fat, as you said. More fat and electrolytes. Absolutely.
Yeah. And check your breathing. Your breathing. I mean, Lao Tzu said that the perfect man breathes as though he is not breathing at all. So we all think that the more we breathe, the more oxygen we have and the healthier we'll be. That's completely the opposite. You shouldn't be breathing any more than, like what they call cardiac coherent breathing, you should be breathing 6 breaths per minute. 6, just 6. Through the nose only. You don't breathe through your mouth. You eat and drink through your mouth and you speak. That's it. You breathe through your nose. And you breathe in through your diaphragm, not your chest. So your diaphragm acts like the vacuum cleaner's engine, and it sucks the air into your lungs, and that's where it works. And you breathe. If you have a nice straight back and open your chest, breathe.
Yoga breath.
Yeah.
Just do yoga. Really great. Really great. Yeah. So how are you? So SIBO. That's the problem.
Yeah.
Everyone's got SIBO.
Mm-hmm.
Plant protein, low-fat diet, lean meat, protein poisoning, deadly for humans.
Yeah.
Just go to fatty meat, eat 1 time a day, have faith in God, and go to work every day. Simple, right?
That's right.
Simple. DC, where can people find you?
You can catch me on YouTube on DC Rebuilding. I'm also on Rumble, Facebook, Instagram. I have a Substack as well. Actually, in fact, today I just put an article up on my Substack. You can check. Speaking about breathing and CO2 is pretty much, CO2 is a miracle molecule, really. It is absolutely vital for us to breathe. And, it's also vital for plants. So it is the superhero molecule. Okay.
Yeah.
And that with, like nitric oxide is another one. So this is why you get such a great combination from carnivore diet too. Nitric oxide production you get from like arginine-rich foods. The arginine amino acid has like 3 nitrates in it.
What's an arginine-rich food?
Well, eggs, seafood, meat.
Carnivore.
And nitric oxide is a miracle molecule as well. It's a beta dilator for a start, but great for thinking everything like that. But again, breath work. If you're breathing through your nose, you naturally produce more nitric oxide. If you add like a vibrating skull breath work, like humming through the nose, you can actually increase your nitric oxide by 15 times just by doing that.
Yeah.
Being out in the sun, also produces nitric oxide through the skin.
Go for a walk. Alia.
Yes.
This prize is either the ticket or something else. Just that whoever wins gets something, because many people might win can't make it. So it's either the ticket to the event or it's
something else.
Like
a t-shirt.
Hat, shirt, t-shirt. Let people pick what they want.
I'll give them the option.
What are our choices? Can people go on drkiltz.com and buy any of these hats or shirts?
Yes. Yes.
Good.
Yes.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
I want to say one more thing, but I forgot. Oh, tomorrow so today we were supposed to give away actually the coaching course, a coaching course.
Doesn't matter.
So we'll do it tomorrow. We'll do that tomorrow. Be here tomorrow for a chance to win the coaching course. Here we go.
Cool.
Oh, cool. I'll have to be here tomorrow then.
Yeah,
be here tomorrow.
All of us. And get the like, subscribe, and share button. Don't forget to get Mitch's book, Laurie Anderson. And make sure you put the list of the books on our book list, Alia, if you would. Thank you so much. I am grateful to Alia, Dr. Nelson, and certainly DC for being here, but I'm really grateful for everyone being here today because and there was a comment here, Kiltz's dopamine is high all the time. I do take my naps all the time, and I don't measure any of that shit. I just my thoughts are elevated in life for sure. But gratitude to everyone. Laurie Anderson, go to Alia at drkiltz.com in order to get your prize for the day. And I did so. If for the Kiltz Mighty Tribe, put again all of these times I put myself in this. If I win, I pick someone for there. And who do we have on tomorrow morning?
1 second. We have a very special guest.
Dom.
His name is Dom. He's going to tell us his story.
Dom is Dom. Let's see, Kukijaka.
Dom Kukijaka.
Nice. All right.
Go. All right, everybody.
Thank you all. Love you. Take care.
See you later.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
All right. No, DC, thank you. You're a rock star. Appreciate you. And
thanks for having me on.
Am I doing a Carnivore Conversations?
You are not today, tomorrow, but you're going to be on somebody else's podcast later today.
No. But do I have one lined up with DC?
We can arrange that.
Of course.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. All right.
I'd love to be on your channel too, DC.
Yeah, sure. Anytime. You're always welcome.
Cool.
Great. We'll get that all right.